Welcome to another amazing episode of Limitless, a podcast with Westside that I think is game changing because we choose very interesting guests. Today we have a 71-year-old rock star giving me goals and will give all of you goals. I promise you that. She is a game changer in the care space for cancer. A word that is a bit heavy, and I know we try to avoid it, but Viji Venkatesh will tell you how she has really made that space. I would feel like you made it comfortable for many, and you've done so much great work. And we're here to hear your beautiful journey. Viji, thank you so much for being here and
Thank
giving
you.
us your time.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I'm trying to give my best introduction for you, but I think that somewhere we're really excited because all the things I've read about you can't sum up the fact that when I met you just now, your energy is infectious. You have this aura about you and you exude this confidence at 71. And may I please also add, I forgot to add this. She's a budding starlet, people.
I like the starlet bit.
I like the starlet bit because she's done her first film at 71. That I think is insane. I think that's so cool. So please, first of all, tell us, how did you get into acting? And I'm going to get into straight into that because I think that for me, one of the most unique things I heard about you.
Sameera, for me, it is like a dream I haven't even dreamt that came true. I mean, here I am. Well, when the offer came to me, I was like before the pandemic, so I was not even 70. But even then, 68 is no age when someone comes to you and says, okay, will you act in my film? So the casting director, she saw a photograph of mine on Instagram. And apparently that was the brief given by the director. She sent a message on Instagram. And if you don't follow that person, you don't see those messages. So I almost didn't see that message. So my acting career almost never happened. But I did because I always check those messages. Some of my patients get in touch with me. So I make it a point to check all messages wherever at any point in
And
time.
thank God you did.
And then, so I gave her my number. Gayatri Smita is her name. And she called and I told her, that's really nice, but I don't speak Malayalam. It's a Malayalam film. The film is called Pachum Adbudha Vilakkum. Pachu and the Magic Lamp. So I said, I don't speak Malayalam so well. It's one of my mother tongues, but we speak more Tamil. Tamil is also bad. Malayalam is also bad. And then I told her I have a full-time job. And she called again and again, and that was my reply. And then she says, so ma'am, the director is coming to Bombay. It's a Sunday and he speaks English. So why don't you meet with him? And I thought that was a really neat line. And I said, okay, I will. And I met the director, Akhil Satyan, very young boy. We met in a restaurant in Bandra for lunch. And I walked into the restaurant and he was there and he was just had this big beaming smile. And don't tell him I said so, but I think I fell in love with him.
Oh my God. Viji, if your husband's listening to this podcast, I think you're in trouble, okay? But see, this is what I love. I love the fact that, you remind me so much of my mother-in-law, Manjri. We also call her Sassy Sasu. She is a firebrand just like you. And I always say this to her. I'm like, it's time you do a movie. And she's like, I'm 68. And I'm like, now I'm going to go back and say, Viji's 71.
People tell me that age is only a number.
Yes.
There I don't agree. I think age is age. your body is aging and you change as you grow older. But I think there is no tomorrow. So I think a lot of us waste our time saying tomorrow. Tomorrow just doesn't come. It becomes today. So live your today well is what I feel.
My
and when
God.
Akhil
and you're living it.
told me the story of the film, and then he told me Vineet Radhakrishnan and Fahad Fasil will be my co-stars. So I said, okay, where do I sign, guy?
Yeah, and from what I've heard, it's come out fantastically.
It's a brilliant film.
It is. And I'm so happy for you because, as I said, you are goals. And I say this because if you see the age of social media and so many, people watching are always, I think, worried about aging. I always say this, like when I have, my gang and my tribe and they listen to me, I always say, I'm 44. My God, my life has just begun. In fact, as you age, you know what you don't want. It is the most powerful space to be in. And from what I see, in terms of where you are today, you're most confident. I have to say, you dress and you look very, very elegant. I read that you are always dressed very, very, properly. Does that come from, has that always been there from childhood?
My mom and my father. My father and mother, we call them Babji and Maji. We are a Tamilian family that grew up in Delhi. And my father, Babji, would always say that you have to look very well groomed. And that shows a sign of respect for the people you're with. So, and my mom, Chinnalambatti saris, okay. I think she had a handful of Kanjivaram saris. She was always dressed in her Chinnalambatti saris. But people would look at her and say, "Aap service karte ho kya?" Like there's this impression, attitude that a working woman, is well dressed, and so I think I became a working woman very late in my life. But I think my Mom and Dad instilled that, that you have to be well groomed no matter what.
You look fantastic.
You have to be well groomed, hair in place. And my father would come back from office. We go to school, we'll come back. And come what may, at 5 o'clock in the evening, we had to wash our face and change for the evening.
How lovely.
Come from a very modest middle-class background. But my mother made sure that we were well dressed.
Well, it's showing because you're looking fabulous. And I'm now going to step back. I'm going to I've started with Viji here today, who's this powerhouse that I've met. But we want to know the story behind the powerhouse. And from what I've read, that you actually started your career much later as a working woman. So I'm going to even backtrack even more than, earlier than that. And from what I see is that your earliest is with the whole inspiration to be in the cancer care space, comes from the fact that you had to care for your mother-in-law who had cancer and your grandmother. Could you tell us more about that time and how that sort of carved your way till here?
I have to be very honest and say that I took up this job in cancer care because it's a very difficult time for us. We had come back from Venezuela. We had lost everything there. And, I needed a job. I needed to be there with my husband and make sure that we, could provide a good home to our two sons. And when I was looking for a job, I couldn't find a job. I had a degree in English literature, which is of no use. I said, okay, let me go and teach. And they said, no, we need a B.Ed degree. I said, okay, I'll get myself a degree. They said, you need teaching experience. So it was crazy. Somebody told me that this person who runs a NGO for cancer, we're going to go and talk to him and meet him. And so he gave me a job. He looked at me, a wonderful gentleman called Mr. Y.K. Sapru. I think I owe what I am. A lot of what I am, I owe to Sapru Sab. So I joined that organization. Believe me, yes, I did care for my mother-in-law. I did help my mother look after my grandmother. And I guess it was after I got into cancer care that I remembered what it was like looking after. I used to accompany my grandmother for her radiation sessions. We lived in Kidwai Nagar in Delhi, which is right next to Delhi Heart now. She was being treated at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. I used to walk her down to the hospital and she used to walk with me. My mother would put some Mosambi juice or something in a flask, and then Ammaji would have her radiation. And this was such a long time ago. This was 56, 57 years ago. I remember so vividly. And I remember how stoic my grandmother was. She had esophageal cancer. And then I was newly married when my mother-in-law was diagnosed with lung cancer. I looked after her because I was the daughter-in-law of the house. I was physically fit. I took care of her. I didn't know anything about cancer at that time. Today, when I know everything there is to be known about cancer, I don't know if I will be as good a caregiver as I was at that time. But I know now, when I look back, I understand so many little nuances, which helps me when I take care of the patients I work with now.
But that's beautiful because you took an experience and you turned it into something which is fruitful for others. It's helping others. And you have Chai for Cancer, which, from what I've been told, is a beautiful community space that you've created. I love what I read about it, but please, can you tell us, I mean, I just love the concept. Could you just tell us what the concept is?
What is chai? Chai is something that is so normal, ordinary, warmth, happiness, companionship. You can have chai with anybody, without anybody, any time of the day, all day. Chai is something that is non-intimidating. Chai is just love, comfort, happiness, joy. I wanted to bring cancer into that arena because cancer is none of the things that I've said just now. Cancer is fear, cancer is isolation, cancer is dread, cancer is suffering.
And
cancer
people don't
is,
want to talk about it.
Cancer is full of stigma.
Exactly.
A lot of misconceptions, a lot of... it's just like you said, nobody wants to talk about cancer. So I told myself, let's bring cancer into the space of chai. And over a cup of chai, let's encourage people to come, get together. I call it an adda, a chai for cancer.
I love
adda.
it. I love it because
Have chai.
it's a safe space also.
Have samosa,
Yes.
have jalebi, have matri, have biryani. I mean, my chai is like the soup stone, right? You know the story of the soup stone? It is not just the soup stone. It is a little bit of cilantro. It is a little bit of, you have something left over from yesterday, some potato peel, some this, some that, and then the soup was made. And everybody thought it was just the soup stone. So with the bahana of chai, bring people together, change the narrative of cancer. And we work with patients at the Max Foundation, with thousands of patients who have been diagnosed with a rare cancer. Thousands of patients, rare cancer. So that tells you so much about cancer. And they are on lifelong treatment. The treatment is given to them at no cost through our partnership with the pharma company. But to come and access that treatment, patients don't have money. They don't have the resources. I ask a patient who's fallen off my radar, Ram Babu, aap aaye kyun nahi itne din? He says, wo... bus fare, train fare, I'm a daily wage earner, I have to leave my family behind. There's this other lady who's supposed to take 6 tablets a day and she takes only 2 because she says, that way I don't have to come to Bombay. I can just come once in 9 months. Or there's this other young woman who says that my husband is the younger son, mere jeth or mere sasur kamate hain, and I don't want to, like ask them for money. My mother-in-law says, bilkul hatti-katti dikhte ho, no need for you to keep going to Bombay. And the patient's dignity, she actually told me, I don't want money. She says, donate a sewing machine to me. Sari mein fall beading karke I'll buy my tickets. So we are looking at patients who cancer has kind of redefined them. None of our patients blame cancer. On the other hand, they say that their cancer has made them look at life differently. They live in hope. They want dignity. And I think Chai for Cancer is just that. We raise funds. We ask people to donate 1 cup of chai. You decide what that cup of chai is worth. It can make a difference in the life of one patient. Whatever you want, you donate for that 1 cup of chai, which will take care of those, they're seemingly very insignificant, very small, but they're unmet needs of the patient. Like one patient told me, the doctor told him to have his daily dose with a glass of milk. And then I said, दूध के साथ पी लो ना. He says, अम्मा जी दूध खरीदने का पैसा होता मैं अपनी बच्ची को पिलाता, मैं नहीं पीता. 18 years later, he is doing very well. He brought sweets the other day to office. That little girl is getting married.
Oh, wow. That's so sweet.
So that's what Chai for Cancer is doing.
I just a little suggestion here. Your stories are so, they just really transport me. You should actually write a Chai for Cancer book of stories. I think it would be so inspirational.
I will.
And I think, you describe it so beautifully. I think caregivers also have hard times with mental health because it's extremely, it can really consume you. And I'm sure you get involved a lot with patients and it could be hard at many points. So do you struggle with that? Do you feel there are moments?
I think the most difficult emotion is guilt. I don't have cancer. And, it's like, thank God I don't have cancer. So you become such a inherent part of the patient's experience that you kind of want to be really there for the patient by feeling and experiencing exactly what the patient is. But then you realize that that's not going to help the patient. You don't have cancer, therefore you're the best caregiver for that cancer patient. And then, like I said, the patients have never ever displayed anger. Yes, there is denial first, anger. There is, you question why me. There's depression, but they overcome it because I think the only difficult emotion patients have to deal with is also guilt. So it's two things. It's the caregiver, it's the patient, and it's because you are giving sorrow to somebody else. Your trouble, your trauma, your suffering does not bother you. It's because you are sick, and because you're sick, somebody else, someone you love, is being troubled. That is what takes a great toll. And there is joy in that giving. I do what I do because I get so much more than what I give. And it's not just me, Sameera, it's my whole team. I work with this wonderful team of people. We just embrace our patients. We embrace their joys, their difficulties. At the same time, they give us so much. My patients call me Amma. It's just something incredible.
It's like a family.
It's something incredible.
But, going back to family, you said you went to Venezuela, and I think you said that this was in the early part of your marriage.
Yes.
That's very interesting because before all this came about, you were actually you were a homemaker. Before the career came, before Chai for Cancer came, before the acting career came. And if you go back there and you have, you had two little boys at that time, you said something that really resonated with me, which was you went through a really hard space because you were in a foreign country. You said that things were going not right financially. And then marriage can really at that time take, that step back because we're a very judgmental society.
Aren't we?
I can tell you that, where you had to step up, as you said, and you had to go out there and really, as you said, pull magic out of nowhere. And that's where resilience comes in, that's where strength comes in, and that's where you brave it out. And you did that. And, your husband had to take a step back. How did all that, how did you deal with that? And I'm sure it was hard because especially in Indian marriages, I can tell you there are so many people listening, and there are all these, spaces within families of what it should be. And a success and a healthy marriage usually is depending on so many outside factors. And I feel they're all the wrong factors.
Absolutely.
And you had to break it all because you had to go back to the drawing board and you had to go out there and work. How did your husband take that, and how did you all overcome this as a partnership?
What happens is when you have to do something, you look at nothing else. You just go ahead and you do it. Because there is no option, right? There is no luxury of option or of having time to think about it. My husband and I, we begin our 50th year together now in a couple of months.
Congratulations.
But I must tell you that at least twice a week I can kill that man with my bare hands, okay?
That's an honest confession.
Twice a week, at least. Ours was an arranged marriage. We grew up in that, in that era. I knew I was going to get married to somebody my parents would choose for me. I'd seen my sister getting married, our older cousins, younger aunts and uncles. And believe me, there's an incredible romance in an arranged marriage. And it was wonderful for us. It really was. I didn't know this guy from the proverbial Adam. We met one day and then 4 weeks later we were married. We said yes because there was no reason to say no. And our families knew each other. Everybody knows. Everybody who's been through it. We grew up in the era of the film Sangam. Have you seen Sangam?
No, I haven't, but I've heard of it.
It remains, to me, one of the best films ever. Films reflect society. Film is a mirror of society. In Sangam, this beautiful girl, she falls in love and she's just so delighted. She's in love with this guy, but she marries somebody else. And after marriage, she realizes that, that was love, but this is reality. And it's just so beautifully done. And I think that's what all of us who grew up in the 60s, we all wanted to be air hostesses, then we all wanted to be doctors, then we wanted to be radio announcers, we wanted to be TV news readers. Simple goals we all had, okay? go back to Venezuela, my husband was working in an oil company. We were there for 5 glorious years. Our children grew up there. It was wonderful. I was Lord of the Manor or Lady of the Manor. I mean, like, it was just wonderful. And then everything collapsed because the Bolivar crashed, and then, like whatever my husband earned was lost. But he was determined not to come back home empty-handed. He said, I'm going to do my MBA. I'm going to go to the US, I'm going to do my MBA. So we went to the US to do an MBA. No money. Whatever money we had, put into that. No assistantship. Okay. So he said he was a hardcore smoker. He said, I'm not going to spend dollars on cigarettes. I said, I won't spend money on makeup. And we'll do this. Okay. He got an assistantship. He never went back to smoking. As you can see, I went right back to makeup. But at that point in time, I sold makeup. You see, I had a social security card that said not valid for employment. I used to babysit. I mean, I used to send my kids to school and I would go and babysit. And then Avon Cosmetics. You've heard of Avon Cosmetics?
Yes.
Here's this brown woman selling Avon Cosmetics door to door to white women. That, I think, was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. I tell you, to be a salesperson is... We should never, ever be rude to anybody who comes knocking on our door or today calling us. And, they're trying to make their livelihood. I learned so much. It was the most difficult thing I've ever done. Not even all those Malayalam dialogues with Fahad Fasil watching me. No. Yeah, it was tough. Then there was a time again, much later in our lives, when my husband lost his job. And, men like my husband, they are like incredible creatures, actually. There was never this atmosphere in the house saying that this is what I do and that is what you have to do. This is what we have to do.
Fantastic.
So, it's
partnership. It's teamwork,
It's a lot of
and
hard
it's really,
work.
It's hard work. And I say this because when I read this, when I was reading about you, and it's amazing how honest you are. I've said this, I'm on social media and I try to be as honest as I can get because there are so many people listening. It's such a powerful medium. And if you're not telling them the truth, you are selling a lie.
Absolutely.
And if they're buying into that lie, then they're feeling really bad about what's going on. And what's going on behind those doors is a completely different situation for most people. And I think that it's amazing that you're open about it, because there are so many marriages that, as I said, are judged. Couples have different power struggles at different points and they break because they just, give in to the fact that the formula is set and a certain way has to be followed for it to be successful. And I say break that. There are many times where your partner is going to, shine more than you or earn more than you, and then the whole balance might change. But the beauty is in that balance, and that beauty is in not having the ego and knowing that there are certain things you do better and there are certain things that he does better. And then, you sort of make that work for you. And that's what you've done, which I mean, and I love the fact that you're talking about it, because in India, people are so careful to make sure that we portray such perfect family. My husband's a provider. I just, potter around. No, you're empowering the woman, you're empowering the man by being honest about it.
Trust and faith
is a very, very important thing.
And the given is different now. So I will not say that, oh my God, in my time we were so good, we stayed married, and no, the given is different now. And today marriage sometimes can also be very irrelevant. And I think that's fine. That's fine.
And phases.
Yeah. I also feel that rather be happy than unhappy.
Yes.
And you should have what it takes. Again, go back to honesty, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of hard work. And my husband is, even if I imply that, oh, Venki doesn't mind my doing this, or he's just, that sounds terrible. Who am I to mind what you do? Or what
Lovely.
You do?
Oh, well put. I love it. I love it because I'm telling you, this needs to change, and you're just saying it as it is.
Yeah.
One thing I have to say, I heard that your son was actually in a heavy metal band as a lead singer.
Lead growler.
I love it. That's so unique. That's so unique. And somebody said, "Oh, Viji's son actually was in a heavy metal band." And I was just thinking in my head, my God, if Hans was in the heavy metal band, I mean, of course, my mother-in-law would be the proudest because she loves heavy metal, by the way. And that's why you remind
So
me
do
so
I.
much of her. And what's really interesting is that, you have such a unique, way of expressing things. And you've also told me that you have tattoos.
Yes, I do. My
And
sons don't have.
oh my
One
God,
up on them. Both my sons are heavy metal freaks. One professes heavy metal. One performed till a few years ago. Vinay came and said that I'm in this band, Bhayanak Maut. And Bhayanak Maut is from the Ramsey brothers. And I'm like, Bhayanak Maut.
Bhayanak Maut.
Bhayanak Maut. Wow, wonderful.
Oh
my
my
Australian
God.
friend once said, is that Bionic Moth? I said, no, that's Bhayanak Maut.
So funny.
See, the boys, like when they loved the kind of music we listened to, like jazz and blues and, so I think whether it is Kishore Kumar or Jethro Tull, whether it is K.L.
They've been exposed to
Sehgal
it
or
all.
Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
music is music,
Yes.
art is art. And we were very proud parents when we went and watched Bhayanak Maut perform for the first time. It was a Hard Rock Cafe. I was so proud. And it's the music you don't understand, but I understood the angst. I understood the power. And that band had that amazing energy. And, they cared for the kids who were listening to them. My son would jump onto the mosh pit and make sure that nobody was physically hurt. That day I told Venki, I said, hey, we brought up good kids,
As I was about to say, that's the upbringing.
Yeah.
But that being said, I can tell you that I'm sure your sons are amazingly proud of you, Viji.
I hope so. They better be.
No, they are, because I can see you as it is, and I'm like, wow, I hope Hans is going to look up to me like
Oh.
that, because your journey has been incredible. I think that you have evolved, you have learned, as from what I see, and you have constantly rebuilt yourself, redefined, which I think is a very interesting thing to do, and it's a very empowering thing to do, is constantly redefine at every phase.
We went through a lot of stuff. I had issues with my parents-in-law. My mother-in-law was the most beautiful inside out, and she died so early. It happens in all families, and then you keep chastising yourself. You're riddled with guilt. And then at some point in time, all the layers. See, when I was 16, 17, I knew who I am. This is me, wicked, garrulous, wanting to enjoy
Fearless.
life. Yeah. But layers. I'm Ramakrishna Iyer's daughter, then I become Krishna Swami Iyer's daughter-in-law, then I'm like Venkatesh Iyer's wife, and then I'm mother. And then one by one, the layers peel off, Sameera. When I became a mother, the daughter layer peeled off. Very soon, the other layers peeled off. The mother layer took the longest. When you're no longer responsible for the nourishment of your children, in all manner of speaking, and that layer comes off, then you're free. Seriously, I cut off my hip-length hair when I was 45 years old. It was like such a big weight off my shoulders. And I learnt that one power, keep it with yourself. That power to make you happy. More importantly, to make you unhappy. Don't give that to anybody.
I agree.
Not your friend, not your spouse, not your children, not anybody. That's yours to keep with you.
Viji, that is the most powerful thing
Yeah.
I have heard on any of my podcasts till date.
Yeah.
You have been the most energetic, incredible guest that I've had. And I cannot thank you enough for being here. And I don't know whether you guys have just taken in all her energy, because I have, and I'm feeling completely like, I'm feeling very buffed right now. So thank you, Viji. Thank you for this.
Thank
you
you.
for sharing, opening, and being so lovely. This podcast is about being limitless, which is Viji Venkatesh, I think, for sure. Thank you, Viji. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Guys, we'll be back with another podcast of Limitless soon, so stay tuned.